God, that all that you've done for us. We are grateful that you've seen mercy on each and every one of us. God, we pray for this country, this county, this state, this city. Father God, we pray that your favor shine upon us. We pray, God, as we take care of the business of the city of Lynn Haven today, God, let our hearts be in the right place. Let our minds be in the right place. God, let us do what's pleasing to your sight. God, we pray that you are pleased with the things that we do and we say. Let all things be done decent and in order, for this is your servant's prayer. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all for being here this morning. First, I want to say I apologize for any mistakes I make procedurally. Obviously, I'm learning, and you'll have to bear with me as I learn the procedures for this, running the meeting and for the city. I don't have much to report other than it's been a long week. I think y'all are all aware of it. The big thing that I've been working on this week is trying to take care of a wood pedestrian walkover at Publix, and I'm for the Bel Air subdivision, and I'm still trying to work things out, try to get that before the commission. And of course, I continue to go to King Griffin and check that park out, and I'm excited where that's coming, and I'm looking forward to us having kids play baseball again. That's all I've got to report. Commissioner Tender.
Thank you. Basically, the last week or so, I've been dealing with flooding, like everybody, and I passed on a project to the city manager, and I think we're going to get that taken care of relatively quick. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Commissioner Perna?
No report.
Commissioner Aldridge?
No report.
Thank you. So let's moving on to the city manager's report. Ms. Gaynor?
Thank you. Couple of things. First of all, one of the things that we were doing, previous mayors, that we would bring before you the checks that we wrote to the haulers. And today's check is a little bit over $37,000. But this one is particularly for Tetra Tech. They are our consultant who's helping us to receive money and get money from FEMA. And so I wanted to bring this to your attention. The contract has already been approved, but we like to just bring the larger checks that are going out to either haulers or consultants to you today of $37,528,000. Secondly, you'll see a lot of improvements at Porter Park. We have just about finished up. We finished up the grant that was given to us, but we know that there's some additional work that needs to be done at Porter Park, meaning taking up some of the old dead palm trees that are there, putting in some new sod in some of those areas, really just cleaning it up so that it looks a lot better. We've done a lot of improvements with the grant, but there's still some things that need to be done there, and you'll see those improvements within the next several weeks. Then lastly, the Beautification Grant. That was something that the commission approved, I think, last year. And we have a bid out for a landscaper, and the bid will be open September the 8th. And then we hopefully will begin construction on that particular grant. It's for 77. Now, the financial update. We talked about that the commission needed to see checks that were written over 35,000, but we decided we'd do 25,000 just to capture any others that were in there. And so every commission meeting going forward, I'll ask the our finance deputy Finance Director to come forward if you have any questions about the list of checks that have been written for this particular time. So you'll always be a week behind, and we just thought instead of trying to wait a month, that we would go and do them every commission meeting. So at this time, if you have any questions for our Deputy Finance Director, I'm going to ask Kiki Roman to come forward, and if not, we'll move on from there.
Good morning.
Anybody have any questions? Does anybody have any questions for Deputy Finance Director?
I think I do.
Yes, ma'am.
Is Bay County Solid Waste and Baldwin Container one of the same company or owned by the same people?
I don't know if they're owned by the same people, but no, we write the check separately.
Okay.
There should be a Baldwin Container. You should see that one.
Yes.
And then you should see Bay County Solid Waste.
Yes.
So we pay Bay County monthly.
Or are they separate though?
Yes,
Separate
ma'am.
companies?
Yes, ma'am.
That was my only question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just for clarification, the Bay County Solid Waste, that's actually the county, it's the tipping.
That's
piece of the county
exactly.
landfill.
That's exactly right.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anybody else? Okay, thank you.
Okay. Next, we have the Employee of the Month. We continue to run the city with diligence, and I just always want to recognize employees who have done this outstanding job. This Employee of the Month is Daphne Hunley. She is a CSR, and during COVID, when many of us we sent a lot of folks home, there were just two people in customer service handling a lot of accounts. We've already recognized Lauren McKenzie, and we just feel it necessary to also recognize Daphne Hunley. She's been with us for a little bit over almost 3 years now, and they do an excellent job. And so there were literally two girls working during this time until we were able to fill those slots. So I just want to say thank you. And once we're back where we can gather together with more people inside, I love to have all the people that have been recognized as an Employee of the Month or Department of the Quarter to have some type of photo made for those folks. And then lastly, which is kind of sad, and then at the same time, he may think it to be pretty happy. We have Mark Bryanstetter here. Mark has been with the city over 31 years. Mark is retiring. He was the director and then assistant director of public utilities. He has done an outstanding job. I think everyone in the city or Bay County knows Mark, and we just want to recognize him for the work he's done to move the city forward. He was one of the ones who, I think, when I took over, we were replacing our last 1927 pipe. Is that correct? And I want to give him a great round of applause. And then I'm going to ask that Greg come forward as well.
All right, y'all ready? Awesome, thank you.
And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Ms. Gaynor. The city manager has requested that we move item 6 down below item 10, obviously because we haven't picked our city attorney yet. So I would like to entertain the commission to consider making a motion to. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Any discussion from the public? Ms. Gaynor, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Aldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Parno,
Yes.
Commissioner Tender,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Russell.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. So moving on to item number 7, it's my understanding we have several people outside that would like to make comments as well. We're going to start with everybody in here, and then we'll start rotating them in as we go. So does anybody would like to get up and make a comment. Please understand that we're going to adhere to the 3-minute, so, watch the clock in front of you and pay attention. Ladies first, sir. Go ahead, ma'am.
Good morning, Christy McElroy. I'm a little curious, of course, all the things that have been going on. And what I want to do today, and I'd like to know, who is your city clerk?
I am.
Okay, so today I'd like to go ahead and enter into the record the exact 52-page indictment. I think it's important that I appreciate y'all going on with business. Before, when I would come to these meetings, everybody wanted to just say, let's push on, let's push on. But as Churchill said, you must study history, so you're destined not to repeat it. And so I'm going to enter that in along with the governor's signature, along with the 2 newspaper articles. And I hope people that are in the community and outside the community will take the time and go online and read these things. It's important. I still am a little curious about the word claim and who was the other city commissioner that got the break. Anybody want to fess up to that?
Ma'am, I'll direct you to the last commission meeting. If you'll go back and watch the meeting, you'll see my comments.
Okay. All right. Because it's also mentioned
Yes, ma'am.
in the indictment. So with that, thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, sir.
So at the special commission meeting, when I came up here to speak, I spoke about the annual audits. And the reason I brought them up because it's important to have checks and balances for the city so that fraudulent and mismanagement doesn't happen. So I went through and I reviewed all the annual audits that happened. And the most recent one I found was in July 2019. And there was multiple things written on here. Of course, they wrote up financial information prepared by the finance director is not being reviewed by management, department heads, and city commissioner on a consistent basis. We kind of went over that in special commission. And there was multiple other things such as adherence to purchasing policies and inadequate purchasing policies and significant audit adjustments. This company that did it was called CRI, Carr, Riggs, and Ingram, CPAs and Advisors. They also did the 4 prior to that, but they didn't write any of this up on the 4 prior. So I got a couple questions with that. How much does it cost for these annual audits?
How much is cost for an annual audit for CRI? Usually around about $50,000 to $55,000.
Well, I called them, and of course they wouldn't answer my question because I'm not a city official. But I think it'd be very important for you guys to give them a call and ask them why they didn't write it up before, because I think they're partially responsible for what's going on right now. Because if we paid for a service, and if they did their service correctly, this whole thing might have been prevented. So I think it's imperative we call them, and then maybe we can try to get some of that money back since they didn't give us that service. And if I'm off the ballpark here, let me know, because like I said, and when I looked at the previous ones, they all look like they were copy paste, except for the numbers were probably the only thing that was different on them. And of course, the most recent one's going to have stuff on it because everything that's been going on. Well, don't take a rocket scientist to figure that out. That's the whole reason for an audit. And I don't think they did a very good, I think they did a horrible job. And they did the city of Lynnhaven a disservice. So I would ask that we reach out to them, ask them why, and say, hey, we'd like to get some of our money back because you didn't do your job. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else in the room would like to make a comment? Yes, sir.
My name is Lyle Burton, 917 Pennsylvania Avenue. I stare at the city hall in the park all day, every day. I'm standing up here with y'all. I'm not one of these people that's going to, get online and do all this research and whatnot. But what I'm here to tell you is that sitting in here with y'all today makes me want to throw up. Whether you're guilty or innocent, shame on all of you for what's going on in this city. I haven't been here very long, but I want you to know that I'm going to be here till the day I die. And I'm just done with you. Shame on y'all. But what I'm going to say is I got 2 minutes and 27 seconds. I'm gonna turn around and ask all of y'all.
Sir, you've got to actually direct your comments. to
Okay,
the commission,
okay.
sir.
I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
What I want to say is, my fellow citizens, are they going to stand here, sit here, and let y'all do this? I'm glad the city's continuing to run and all this, but I look at y'all and I think, can I trust you? There's one person in the city council meeting, or the city council, that I think I can trust, because they ask questions. I voted for you two. You ain't been here very long, but shame on you. Y'all don't ever say anything. All y'all do is move motions and second motions. I don't ever hear any questions from you or nothing. You won't get my vote next time. That's all I got to say about that. But I just want to say that the citizens need to stand up. I think your time's limited. And if you've done something against the law, they're coming for you. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
So, thank you for your comment, sir. Anybody else inside the room would like to say? Yes, ma'am.
Morning.
Morning, ma'am.
My name is Cindy Jeffrey. I'm on Dundee Lane in Moet, Highlands. Some of you may think that my comments today are a bit outlandish, but in my opinion, in lieu of the behaviors and actions that have been charged lately, I don't feel that there's so much outlandish. I would like to read my comments because I do need to stay on track for my own benefit. The problem with corruption is that it leaves doubt, suspicion, and questions. And I think that's what we're all facing right now. My comments today pertain to the proposed 84-lot subdivision and the 72 townhomes being built next to Moet Highlands. I feel both of these projects need to be halted, and here's why I say this. Based on the nature of the recent charges against Mayor Anderson and Attorney Al Britton, there is a high degree of skepticism and suspicion on the part of residents of Moet Highlands. The indictment charges that both of them used their position as mayor and city attorney to take official action favorable to Company A and Company B, which included voting on measures brought before the City Commission. It also charged that between 2015 and the present date, Mayor Anderson helped Company B win multiple multi-million-dollar contracts with the City of Lynn Haven, and in return received things of value from the owner of Company B. Both officials are charged with pressuring and advising city officials to perform specific official acts. Herein lies the issue, and this is where I kind of need to be careful with how I phrase this. The owner and developer of the 72 townhomes, named Landon's Landing Townhomes, is James Finch, who is also the owner of Phoenix Construction, which is believed to be Company B. And the developer of the 84-lot subdivision, named Andrews Plantation Phase 2, which hasn't been started yet, is associated with the company presumed to be Company A, which I will not mention now because I have not seen that come out in public. How can we be assured that possible illegal or fraudulent dealings, for example, steering of contracts, hastily approving permitting, etc., with the developers of these two projects did not occur for monetary gain or some other materialistic kickback? How do we know there was no conflict of interest? It seems that until these dealings can be checked into, these projects should be halted. Considering there are 327 residents opposed to the 84-lot subdivision, there are many valid reasons for their opposition. The actions taken toward approving both of these projects should be looked into more closely. Our community does not want to be associated with any corruption. Will these dealings or transaction for these two projects be looked into to ensure everything was handled above board? That's my one question. My second question is much shorter. If these two projects end up moving forward, is funding in jeopardy now for the infrastructure upgrades that need to occur to accommodate these additional 156 homes? In particular, I'm referring to the stormwater drainage and more so to the lift station. Both are crucial and neither can wait for years down the road if there is no longer funding now. If the funding is no longer available now, how can these projects possibly continue? And I've got 15 seconds left and I think I'm done.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, sir, Mr. Schwartz.
Close. Schultz, Bob
Sure,
Schultz,
I
509.
apologize, sir.
That's okay. 509 Pennsylvania Avenue. Guys, I'm scared of COVID-19. I come up here, first time I've been here in 6 months because I'm in advanced age, like a lot of people are. And I see a sign on the door that says, we have COVID-19. Nobody, hardly maybe 5, 6 people in here are wearing masks. I am surprised. Your space, fine. But 5 people wearing masks. And this gentleman over here that criticized you, I say this. A lot of you know I ran for city commission last time. I get beat, but I believe in this. If you got something to say, do something. Run for city commission. Win or lose, at least you're up there. And I say to this gentleman here who criticized the city, run. There's election next April. Get your name on the ballot. Run. If you think you can do a difference, I sure did. I didn't get elected, but I sure got out there and tried. So again, try. And again, guys, what are you doing about this COVID-19 within the building? Is the question.
Ms. Gaynor, would you?
Nobody's got masks on. You're our city leaders. Okay, but nobody else. Our city,
Yes.
but can't you make it mandated?
No.
No?
It is not mandated, so I cannot enforce that unless it is mandated by this commission. The only thing that I can do is ask everyone that works in here, and they are required to wear a mask if they are not social distancing. I can tell you what happens within the city. Anytime that anyone visits an office, they have a mask on. They have their mask on at all times. That's required. But
Ms. Gaynor, the sign says you have a person in here. Is that person in here now?
no, sir, that
Oh,
person is
no,
not.
okay.
Yeah, that was just to let people know that that did happen and to encourage people to wear masks.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Walker?
Good morning, Rich Walker, 1106 Michigan Avenue. Bob, I got my mask, but I just dropped it off so I could speak. Very good comment. Ladies and gentlemen, this city has been pure through hell, and it's going to continue to go through hell. We just missed 2 more hurricanes, or we're going to miss maybe the second one. Someone, she, or something, has an objective to clean clock in this city. He was here first. He did it. He did it the second time. He's doing it the third time. And he's coming back until you get it right. And you're not getting it right. Gentleman stood up there and told you. Lady told you something. We've had 2 grand jury investigations here. They convicted and they've implicated. The first time they've implicated and they've convicted. He's around, the attorney is around for the second time. He's telling you something also. Our attorney general from this area has retired. He left by saying Bay County is corrupt. The attorney general, federal, came down and said, I'm going to clean the clock here. He's going to do it. September 9th, you get the first conviction and sentencing. It's coming up again. Another grand jury they're still convened, same one. And he's vowed that this is going to continue. In the first, we had the convictions. We had the implications. That was finished. We had COVID-19 stop the grand jury. They reconvened. And now we've had the second one. We've had the indictments and the implications. And it seems to have taken a trend. That attorney general is out to get you. He said so, and he's doing it. He's not finished. The old saying is the fat lady, it's over when the fat lady sings. That's not over. You got to take a look at these implications. They're unnamed. When I was working for the government, we write fitness reports. We do not put the name of the person in there. We put subject. He's put A, B, C, D in there. What you're going to do this afternoon is going to have ramifications for this city. That gentleman said something that was very important. You're elected. He didn't see anything done. I don't see anything done. This is bad. Be careful for what you do this afternoon, because the implications by the grand jury are probably going to come true, and you're going to have to go through this again. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Miss Arlene?
I would like to know, in past city council meetings, the room has been packed with city employees. I would like to know how many city employees are sitting in here right now.
Just the one in the back, and then these
Bobby
are,
Baker.
yes,
And
and these are in their offices so that they don't take up any of the seats that are out here.
But all the rest of these are citizens.
And I echo, you guys be careful what you're doing here because the trust of the community is not behind you.
Thank you, ma'am. Yeah. Come on up, sir. Morning, sir.
I came just because I was partly on the new development in Moet Highlands. I look around and I see all these roads paved. That's very nice, and I'm concerned about the sunshine laws, Florida sunshine laws, where there are things being done that the public wasn't informed of between the company who does all the paving and their agents to get to fast forward those permits. So my question, not really a question, but comment would be for a new attorney to check into the sunshine laws and were any of them broken to obtain these permits for the new 84 house development. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We're good? Okay, is there anybody else inside that'd like to make a comment? Okay. Real quick, sir.
So last meeting I asked about the forensic audit. I sent you an email and get a response back.
I did not receive an email from you.
Okay, I'll send you another email.
Please do. I respond to every email.
Okay. And the other question I had, the lady came up here and asked about the Andrews Plantation Phase 2. She asked a couple questions, but I didn't see a response to it. Do you have an answer to it?
Anybody in the commission's is able to answer if they'd like to, sir.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, if there's no more public comment, we're going to continue on to the consent agenda. The consent agenda, item 8, is the minutes for 8/11/20, the regular meeting minutes, August 19th, 2020, the special meeting minutes. And then item 9 is an amendment to the minutes from March 26, 2019 through May 26, 2020 to include city manager Vicky Gaynor in attendance. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So move.
Second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion with the commission? Any discussion with the public?
Mayor Pro Tem, if I may.
Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to ask, obviously, this is important to the city manager to be included in that, but is there a reason for it? What reason are we doing that for?
That is, these minutes are official records. And so if someone were to come back and ask, was the city manager there? And I'm talking, but I'm not listed as being present, then that poses a problem. And we need to make sure that we're very, very clear that I was there in those minutes.
Okay, and is that from the time you started as acting?
Yes, some of them are there, March 26th. You're exactly right. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so no discussion with the public. Ms. Gaynor, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Aldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Perno,
Yes.
Commissioner Tender,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Russell.
Yes, motion carries. Okay, moving on to old business, item number 10, discussion and possible approval of contracts for temporary legal services with a law firm of Jeff Carter, PA. I believe the city manager has a report.
Yes, sir.
And would you please read resolution 2020-08-339?
Sure. A resolution of the city of Lynn Haven, Florida, confirming the engagement of the law firm Jeff Carter, PA, and its compensation. And for the past couple of days, actually, Mr. Carter and I have stayed up many late nights working on lots of projects that have been left that we need to take care of that needs the city's immediate attention. I think he's done a really good job and a yeoman's job at this point of trying to move us and keep us on track. So I just wanted to let you know that. And then the contract is here for the commission to approve it.
So is any discussion with the commission?
Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Does the contract, is it just for what Commissioner Aldridge suggested last time, 2
Yes,
meetings?
yes, ma'am. It says it right here.
Okay, thank you.
So move. So we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion with the commission? Discussion with the public? Yes, sir, Mr. Scray.
Hello, Ryan Scray. I live on Missouri Avenue. So I fully understand why we're putting a temporary attorney in place. I appreciate as a citizen that we've limited it to a certain number of meetings to give the city time to look at other options, whether it's hiring, a full-time one, which is what I would prefer. And I think a lot of citizens might prefer, but I don't want to speak on their behalf. Maybe we should just ask them. The city has a Facebook page. You could do a poll. I could do a poll in the group that I run that has 1,300 people in it. But the important thing here is that I would like to know in this temporary contract, how long are we, it's for 2 meetings, right? And what are we paying for an hourly rate?
It is $200 per hour.
$200 per hour. So that's massive. I mean, that's a lot of money. So I did a quick Google search just now sitting in the chair. ZipRecruiter is a website that does a lot of salary stuff. The average city attorney for Florida makes $80,000 a year. That's just salary. And I'll stretch it even a little bit here. Sunrise, Florida, we currently have a position open that's ranges from 26,000 to 140. I'm not even going to try to I'll try. Highlands, Florida, 44,000 to 290,000 per year. I would strongly urge the commission to look mostly at hiring an attorney, putting them on salary here for the city. So they're working for us, for the city, pay them the benefits, whatever. I guarantee if you do the math, it's going to come out cheaper than what we're going to pay a on and off attorney. That's just the way I see it. So I just want to share those comments and ask the commission to strongly consider, as you look into this, and the city manager, as you look into this, weigh those benefits of having a full-time versus a part-time or a temporary. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am.
I appreciate the attorney's willingness to step up here, but not trying to beat the dead horse or anything, but just kind of wondering if we could make sure he doesn't have any conflict of interest.
Yes, ma'am.
And, some biz accounts, LLCs, who's he associated with. So I'd like us to go ahead and discuss that, talking about trust, because just like Gulf County got in a little bit of trouble, Lynn Haven did too.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Just to let you know, at the special commission meeting, he did mention on record saying that he had no conflict with any business, with the city of Lynn Haven. But, if Mr. Carter wants to get up and make a statement or make a statement from his chair, he can, if he'd like to.
I don't have anything new to add.
Okay. Thank you.
I don't have any conflicts with the city. You're welcome to check me out on some of this, Google my name. I'm very transparent.
Nobody's going to be able to hear it.
I know.
I'm just here to help the city get this different.
Mr. Carter, if you would in the future, you need to turn your mic on when you're talking, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. Any other discussion with the commission? Any other discussion with public? Yes, sir, Mr. Walker.
Rich Walker again. In our past problems with attorneys, and we've had problems, is one thing that stands out. We don't hire the attorney. We hire his company. And everything that has to go through him or her comes from the company. Most times we hire the company and they hire somebody else that's a specialist. And when we hire the company and the lawyer, he gives us opinions. Opinions, as I've stated before, are as good as their worth from where they come from. If you hire another lawyer at a more expensive price, he'll throw his opinion out. What we need is an attorney that is ours, that doesn't give us opinion, gives us case law, and is going to back it up. That's your basic problem. Because what he says, she says, or it says, and you from there, sometimes is not the truth and can be defeated by a more higher priced lawyer or a state law. So what you should be cranking into this is there's nothing wrong with temporary having a lawyer. We need it right now. But in your long range plans, look for one that is yours, you control, and don't make him a city employee, because city employees fall under the tutelage of the city manager, not you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. If there's no other discussion, City Manager, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Aldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Parno,
Yes.
Commissioner Tender,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Russell.
Yes. Thank you, ma'am. So moving on to item number 11. Now, this is one of those procedural things. You're going to have to bear with me.
Mayor Pro Tem,
Yes, ma'am.
I think.
Oh, that's
city
right. I'm
attorney's
sorry.
report.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for reminding me. So we moved item 6 down, so now we can have the city attorney's report.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Can everybody hear me all right now? I'll be brief. Thank you all for having me and for allowing me to work with you through this time. The first thing I want to address is the city attorney position itself. I'm obviously on an emergency and temporary interim basis. You've discussed and approved my agreement, which is limited to 2 terms, 30-day or 2 meetings with 30 days. But what the city needs to do, we need to go out for RFQ for permanent city attorney position. As you're familiar, the RFQ process is 2-tiered. One is soliciting through advertising the qualifications themselves, and then the city manager negotiating that with the prospective attorneys and the commission voting on it. So that is my official recommendation, that the city go ahead and go out through the RFQ process as soon as possible. To the extent that I might personally want to bid on that through my firm, it would be proper for the city manager to handle that process and for me to have nothing to do with it. I haven't made a decision one way or the other, but in the city's best interest, it needs to move forward. And that's my recommendation on city attorney. Secondly, going through the prior city attorney's work, there are various odds and ends, legal things that I'm addressing. The design contracts with your architects, with DAG Architects. We have a almost completed contract with those guys. I have to make some changes there and get that finalized between them and city manager. There are various items of pending litigation that I've been in contact with Mr. Albritton's office, and they've updated me, and I understand the status and the procedural stance of those cases, and there are no pending or immediate fires, so that's all okay for the moment. And there's some pending code enforcement matters, one of which we're working on an agreement for KC Solutions, Inc. That may ring a bell, so that's kind of at the top of my list because of where it is in the process, and then some stragglers coming along behind that. So that's the general city attorney work. It's being looked at to make sure that nothing falls through the cracks. To bring some good news, to speak to the storm claim, I'm aware that we have an undisputed payment coming to the city of $381,827.50. And because of the indictment, we have some issues that we'll need to work through contractually with public adjusters and the insurance carrier. But we're working through those, and we'll be working through those very soon, both in my capacity as city attorney and with the Merlin Law Group, working on the storm claim itself. So that is a piece of sunshine in the midst of all the gray. Hopefully we can accomplish that. As an update on where the claim sits, there's an approximately a little over $5 million delta
that we've agreed to with the carrier, and we're working through those issues. In working through those numbers, the debris removal has been parsed out and separated because of the obvious issues with public trust and how various contracts were procured and executed. But we're working diligently and amicably with the carrier to get through what we would call the known legitimate portions of the claim for the moment. And I hope to have a better report on that at the next meeting. Finally, the mayor's vacancy. I know we have an agenda item, so I can wait and save that discussion for that time, or I can go ahead into the legalities behind that as the city pleases.
If you don't mind, let's go ahead and finish out your report with it, sir.
Okay. So we've got obviously the mayor's vacancy. It began as a suspension and now a resignation from the former mayor. Article 2, Section 15 of the city charter requires, and I quote, that any vacancy shall be filled until the next regular municipal election. So I know you all understand this, you serve and you're familiar with the charter, but to put a fine point on it, the commission must fill this vacancy. And it can be filled by any resident that would otherwise be eligible to run for that office. To the extent that it's filled by one of you, you would have to resign your current seat if you were nominated and then voted in as the new mayor, which would create another vacancy, which we would have to convene within 10 days to fill that vacancy, or else it would be subject to a governor appointment. I can't comment on what the governor's office would do, but based on recent events, for instance, with the county commission, I think that it should be filled here and not rely on a governor's appointment. So that will be my recommendation for the vacancy. Per the charter, it has to occur that way. That individual will serve until the next general election in April of 2021. And then for the mayor's position, that individual will have to run again and stand for election to then fulfill the mayor's term until 2023, at which point they would have to run again. And that's to preserve the city's election, staggered election cycles. If it were a current commissioner who filled the mayor's seat, necessarily you would have to resign your seat. If you happen to be on the 2023 cycle, that person's, the new appointee that we would have to appoint within the next 10 days would also run again in the next general election in April. Is there any questions on that? It's kind of a mouthful.
Anybody have any questions for the attorney? Thank you very much for the report. We don't normally allow public comment, but this is an unusual circumstance, so I'm going to be glad. I'm going to let you come up and ask the question, sir.
The only question I had is if the mayor position doesn't get filled, then it gets filled by the governor. Is that correct?
In theory, the governor is not required to take any action on an appointment and may not.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Carter.
Thank you.
Anybody have any questions from the commission to Mr. Carter? Okay. So then now we can move to item 11. So let's see, this is going to be a public hearing, so I guess I need to state the time. It is 9:43. This is a final reading of Ordinance 1098, Comprehensive Plan Text Amendment, Capital Improvement Schedule. Action is necessary, and I believe the planning director has a report.
I do have a report. Before I start that, though, can I just ask you if you can wait around at the end of this meeting again, because do you recall those Mylars that you signed a couple of weeks ago? Well, the engineer put them in his truck and left them in the hot truck, and they all stuck together, and so all the information was kind of lost on the front pages. So we have them reprinted so that you can sign them again, and I think you'll have to, well, we'll figure that out. So yes, so what we have here is the final reading of Ordinance 1098. And this is basically an update to the comprehensive plan. The update is the schedule of capital improvements. Now, the schedule of capital improvements is not what you're voting on here. What you're voting on is being able to put that in the comprehensive plan, because text amendments to the comprehensive plan have to be sent to the state. Any changes to the comp plan have to go to the state for approval prior to you being able to adopt them. So that's why we had the transmittal resolution a couple of months ago. It got sent to the state. The state don't have any problems with that going in the comp plan. And I just feel that the schedule that's in there currently is 2010. So an update hasn't been put into the comp plan for 10 years. And so if somebody was to pull that up online, it's an old schedule. So basically you're voting here on whether to place that new schedule in the comprehensive plan. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Does anybody in the commission have a question for Ms. Richard? So,
Mayor Pro Tem,
yes, ma'am.
do you need to read the title?
Yes, ma'am, please.
Ordinance number 1098, an ordinance of the City of Lynn Haven, Florida, amending the capital improvement element of adopted comprehensive plan, providing for purpose and intent, providing for a title, providing for severability, providing for a copy on file, repealing all ordinances in conflict, and providing for an immediately effective date.
Thank you, ma'am. So,
So moved on the ordinance.
Second.
thank you. I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion with the commission? Any discussion with the public? Hearing none. Ms. Gaynor, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Aldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Parno,
Yes.
Commissioner Tender,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Russell.
Yes. Okay, so let's see. And here the hearing is closed at 9:51. I'm sorry, 9:46. Apparently I can't read a watch today. Moving on to item number 12, discussion of the rebuild for the police department / EOC. And this agenda item was put on the agenda by or Commissioner Perno. Commissioner Perno?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. In a previous meeting, we voted to take out the police department EOC and put it under a different process of bidding to the design build. And at that time, we were going to do a carve out and use our insurance money. And after the fact, we found that there's a potential loss of $1.4 million in funding from FEMA. After realizing on our vote that I really realized that we were going to speed up the process by doing this, and it came to fruition that possibly it's not a faster process. So I'd like to make a motion that we move the PDEOC back under the Florida architect plan under the same parameters that we did last time. The no more than 1,600 square feet, no more than $300 square foot top cap at $310 square foot.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Just to clarify, we are going back to design bid build as it was originally, correct? And Commissioner Perno, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And one of the only other question I have is the original building plans were 16,000 square feet, and you mentioned 1,600. So I just want to make sure we get that clear.
16,000 square feet.
Okay. All right. So, okay, we got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion with the commission?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
I realize we're going there and all of that, but I do want to say that it is baffling to me as well that we passed 3-2, and our past city attorney decided he was going to grill me and ask me the same question 6 times to try to make me change what I had said. So long and short, what we've proven again, and I hate to say this, but what we've proven again is that first time doesn't count, might not even count second time, because we're going to keep doing it until the majority get what they want. And we had the majority at the first vote. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem, if I could speak to that.
Yes, sir,
I
Commissioner.
mean, in all honesty, if we're looking at the linear fashion of the way this whole process worked, it was design bid build to begin with. So I've never changed course. From the very beginning, I've never changed course on any of this. And neither is some of the other commissioners. So when it did switch to 3-2, it wasn't that I switched anything. I think it was the other side switched. So all we're doing now is reverting back to where we were a year ago. So.
Okay, any other discussion with the commission?
Well, Mayor Pro Tem,
yes.
I'd just like to say that, you know, I kind of was a swing vote on this and went the 3-2 to do it. But upon realizing that we're going to use insurance money, but upon realizing that we're going to lose the $1.4 million from FEMA funding, and the timeline on the project has made me, you know, realize that as a steward of the citizens' money, you know, we're in a better situation to go back to design, bid, build. That's my feelings. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Is any comments with the public? Yes, sir, Mr. Scray.
Ryan Scragan. I just want to ask, so you said we're going to lose 1.4 million from the FEMA process if we
Potentially,
don't switch back. If we switch back, potentially we could get that 1.4 million. And could we still use the insurance money? Okay.
Yes.
Insurance plus FEMA.
And how much is the insurance money again?
The insurance money they took,
Approximately.
I just can't tell you off the top of my head. I had that in front of me last week, but I know that FEMA took I think it was maybe $3.4 million and then deducted what they would get out of it. And then we came up with the 1.4. So I can't tell you off the top of my head.
But I think back at the planning meeting we had at Lynn Haven Elementary, I thought there was a figure of around 10 million on the table. What,
are you talking about insurance money as to what?
right.
The
what-
city
what we
hall.
wanted to put for
Okay,
the
I thought
police
you were talking
department.
about one
Sorry.
particular building.
Yeah.
Yeah, right now we've received insurance money a little bit over $10 million, if that's what you're talking about.
Okay. So
Yeah.
if we were to dedicate that to the PD EOC, we could also get an additional 1.4 million from FEMA and have it be 11.4 million.
Well, that entire money is together. It's just not like over here in a pile and saying that you're going to use it on one project. All of that money for FEMA and for insurance is together, and we have a total almost $20 million to rebuild the city. And so if we continue on the path that
Okay.
we originally went on, the 1.4 million would be additional money.
Okay. But it could potentially be lost if we don't switch back.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay, you guys could parse it out to different projects.
absolutely.
Okay, thank you for the clarifications.
Yeah.
Any other public comment? Yes, sir. And I'm sorry, I know you're one of the architects, but I can't remember your name off the top of my head.
Joe Sorcy with Florida Architects.
Thank
I just wanted to be clear that you were motioning for the police station 16,000 square feet, because that's also the number for the city hall. So I think in the programming, the police station was actually a little bit larger. I don't have those numbers in front of me because I was surprised today, but
I think it was more of 18,000 square feet, if I remember correctly.
yeah, you might want to
Amend that motion.
maybe just change the motion to say what the program stated at $310 a square foot. Just a suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I'll amend the motion to say the $300 a square foot at a cap of 310 and leave the square footage up to the design that and the contract that presently exists.
Okay, so we have a motion.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. So now I'll start over again. Is there any more discussion with the commission? Any discussion with the public? Hearing none, City Manager, will you please call the roll?
Commissioner Perno?
Yes.
Commissioner Aldrich?
Yes.
Commissioner Tender?
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Russell?
Yes. Motion carries. Moving to item 13, discussion and possible approval of an appointment of the position of mayor pursuant to Articles 2, Section 15 of the city charter. I think we've already heard a report from Mr. Carter, but if y'all would like him to restate it, I'll be glad to ask him, or if not, we're open it for discussion with the commission. Okay. Anybody in the commission would like to speak?
I've always got something to say, I know.
Yes, ma'am, Commissioner Tender.
In this particular issue, It's a very touchy issue, obviously, because gaining the public's trust again is a big issue. I came here with the intent to vote to have the governor appoint. And after listening to the attorney, he's saying that he may not ever appoint. So with that said, I would like to make a motion that we form a residential committee of 20 or 25 people. I don't even care who picks them, but let the residents come up with the names that they would like to see voted on. It's like we have 4 of us sitting here and we're going to vote. That's just crazy, you know, to me anyway, because we're going to vote for obviously one of us 4. And I have another name I could throw in the hat that is a resident too.
Well, just it is open to anybody. So if you want to put a name out there,
Mhm.
I mean, you're more welcome. That's your right. So any other discussion?
You know, I think we have to remember as well, we're on a clock. I mean, we're down to under 5 days now left on the clock. 'Cause half this day's about gone. So, you know, that's a lot of logistics to figure out. You know, the encouragement I would say for anybody that's out there in the audience, because obviously there is going to be an issue of trust going forward. I would like to say, first off, I'm innocent as the day is long. So no shame on me. You know, I live my life every day serving my Lord Jesus Christ, and I will always do that. He's first, like it or not. So I will always follow that direction, and I will always do what's ethical and moral. I've been raised with integrity and character as being 2 of the biggest building blocks in my life. My father says, it don't matter if you give your last dime, you owe a bill, you pay the bill. That's a man's character. It's a man's integrity. You can take everything away but that. And I can give each and every one of you my word, and look, each and every one of you and you can go Google, search, private investigate, do whatever you want. You ain't going to find nothing on this boy. And I'll put that and leave it where it is. Okay. But that being said, I want to do what's best for this city. I want to do what's best for these citizens. So if that, you know, that falls on our shoulders, and that's part of being an elected official. It's not always fun. I mean, I could be at the business right now doing some stuff that's not getting chewed out, but I'm here because I'm serving. That's what service is the mayor position. I want to make clear is not a position of high-mindedness. It is not a position of look at me. It is just the chief servant. The chief servant. And I, you know, I want everybody to understand that. We can get lost in the forest looking at all the trees. We need to see the big picture and see that we're all in this together. My gosh, I was caught off guard just like you. I've only been in office for 13 months, 14 months. So I'm stuck in this washing machine just like you are. But my gosh, we're going to get out of it. We're going to fold these clothes. It's going to get back neat again. And I can give you my word. I'll do my best to help any way I can. So thank you.
Mayor Pro Temp.
Yes, Commissioner Perna.
I'd just like to say that we, you know, we voted, we've voted to have a pro temp mayor as yourself. I think every man's presumed innocent until guilty. I don't feel like we should change the process. I do believe that we should name a mayor pro temp if we're going to name a mayor. So, I mean, for the sake of a motion, you know, and to continue, I would move that we make Dan Russell the mayor and Brandon Aldridge mayor pro temp. If anything happens in any particular light that we've already know that we've had cast on us, well, we can survive and go forward. I feel like that would be our best scenario, and that's a motion I like to make.
Thank you, Commissioner Perna. We have a motion on the floor. Okay, so
You know, Dan, you are innocent. Until proven guilty, everyone is. And I love you to pieces, but I just with everything hanging, I can't second that. I just can't.
No. Listen, I was just fixing to say the motion dies for lack of a
Well,
second.
yes, sir.
You know, and this needs to be an open forum and the commission needs to make the decision.
Sure.
And whatever this commission makes, you know, we will abide by. So I got no problem with that, Brandon. Thank you. So we need some direction from the commission then. If not, then we'll wait and see what the governor does.
Not yet.
Not without a motion.
Well, if we can't decide right now, can we?
There's no second. So there's no second. So there's no comment. Robert Rules of Order, there needs to be a second before we have comment. And there hasn't been a second motion. Yes, sir.
Right now, there's no motion on the floor, so there's nothing to comment on.
Thank you.
If someone would like to make-
I'm sorry?
If somebody would like to make a motion for another member or another resident, now's the time to do it.
Okay, for lack of action, we'll move on to item number 14.
Well,
Oh,
Mayor, before,
yes, sir.
I mean, I need clarification from our attorney, I guess. We've got 5 days, so we can, if we make the motion to have a special meeting Friday again, that gives us, what, 3 more days to
Do that.
to try to come up with something,
The
right?
order's very specific that we
Is
fill
that-
within 10 days.
No?
I have a funeral to attend.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yes.
No, you have to display it
You
to
have
the
to
public in a
advertise
certain
it.
amount of
Advertise
time. Because I think we got to have somebody, I think, the governor's probably just not going to do it, y'all. He's just not going to do it. I mean, he's made that clear.
The charter does say if you all agree for a special meeting, you do not have to public notice it.
Okay.
So is somebody going to have a different opinion an hour from now?
Right, that's what I'm saying. I don't know that that would change anything. A couple days would possibly. What about, how does your Thursday look, Ms. Gaynor?
I can do that in the morning and just wait to leave to go to the funeral. Yes.
Okay, well then I'd make the motion that we reconvene Thursday morning at 9 a.m. And at that point, due to no time left, we will either make a decision or lack thereof, and we'll live with that decision.
May I ask, I just want to ask you, Brandon, a question.
Yes, ma'am.
You just made the comment that the governor will not do anything about this. How do we know that?
No, I said he probably will not. I'm not saying I'm not in the governor's mind, but oh, well, let me clarify then. He probably will not. And again, that's coming from not just my own mind. We get fed information from the state and other people. I mean, we're leaders in the city here, so we, I talk to those people, and the consensus seems to be that he'll may not do anything.
That is a pretty good assumption because that's the course he took with the county commission seat that was vacated. He chose not to appoint somebody for that position.
Yep.
Thank you.
So we have a motion on the floor for a meeting at 9, special meeting 9 Thursday morning.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Commission, any discussion with the public? Mr. Scray.
I just want to say thank you for the motion. Thank you for the second, Commissioner Tender, because now I hope that, and the city attorney may need to chime in here, I hope that at a special meeting, we can have an opportunity for more public discussion instead of just going through this, Ferris wheel roundabout of trying to figure out what we want to do. Because I want to, I'm going to say to the commission, but more so to the public watching and behind me, as a city attorney pointed out, anybody that's picked, if it's from this commission, only serves until April. Only until April. April's not that far away. And then they need to rerun. I would think that the commission and the city really would take that into consideration, that it's not until 2023, it's until April. That's what, half a year away, if that?
That's why I made the motion.
And then secondly, I would like to point out that at this meeting, if we do appoint a mayor until April from this commission that we're going to have a vacant commission seat that's only, again, going to serve until April, when everybody needs to run again. And then we put it back into the hands of the citizens, not the commission, for a long period of time, only until April 2021. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Walker, I thought I saw your hand. Yes, sir.
Rich Walker, this is not difficult. This is very simple. I have one question. The attorney said that the governor would not appoint, and you backed that up and then corrected your statement. According to the rules, the governor will
Well,
appoint.
sir, I suggested he may not. I can't speak for the governor. I have
I
no
know
idea.
you can't,
It
but
seems
the law
unlikely.
says that he has to.
He may.
And you have 5 days to do it. The mayor commissioner, let us get it correct. This is a mayor commissioner. The mayor is only the mayor for the city, and he, she, or it is the head of the city, outside the city, and signs for the city. Other than that, the mayor sits there and there's one vote.
Mhm.
The mayor does not have to vote. No commissioner has to vote. The mayor votes in a tie. Okay? The city citizens who have been beaten to the ground elect the mayor commissioner. Ms. Tinder's idea is very good. Citizens' idea is very good. You need their input. The rule that I understand is the person you appoint today fills out the term of the mayor. That is not April. If I stand corrected, and I'd like to see it in writing.
It's actually in our papers, and I'll be glad to give it to you. It says until the next general election, which would be this coming April.
Okay. The general election. of
Municipal.
Who?
No, it says the city's next general election.
Okay. Then fine. Then your statement, until proven different, is April.
Yes, sir.
The point here is the citizens elect this person. If you kick this down the road again, fine, that's good. However, I think Commissioner Tinder's idea is good. Maybe another meeting, yes, with citizens input is important. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir, Mr. Schwartz. I got your name right this time.
Schultz.
Oh, I got it wrong again. Sorry, sir.
No, it's close enough. I just have a question to ask you, to ask the attorney. Does the governor have the right to appoint or not? I'm confused.
Mr. Carter?
He does have the right and the power, but it's up to his discretion whether he exercises it.
Okay. He has not said that he does not intend to appoint. Does anybody know that?
No, sir.
Okay.
And I do want to point out that the governor is not bound by a municipal charter. If that's ever something everybody can be comfortable with.
Yes, ma'am.
I appreciate when people are ready to step up. But I'm still have some concerns. I think if you're going to get, big fat shrimp and a cocktail up at a men's club, you probably need to really self-evaluate yourself. And the citizens as well deserve to understand that you're not going to be doing that anymore, because you got company A, company B, company C, and company D. Now, it ain't real hard to figure out who those companies are. And believe me, as a child that grew up here, I know exactly what goes down, because I had a father that also liked to go get a big fat shrimp and a cocktail on occasion. So let's just all be real transparent here. Don't need you taking any shrimp, airplane rides, or a trip to the Keys, or having somebody buy you a big RV.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, sir.
So at this meeting, will that be open to the public? Okay. Is there any way we can get a hold of the governor and see what his intention would be if no one got voted in, if he would appoint someone? Would it be a breach? I just got to throw my opinion out there. As you know, the confidence level of the residents right now is really low. And I think what this commission needs is a clean slate. Someone that's outside of the whole thing. Someone absolutely new. I understand you two are new, but regardless, there's still perception. We need someone else outside of that.
This would only be till April.
I got it, but it doesn't take very long for someone to do some damage. And I think a lot of people would back me up and say they don't have a confidence level on anyone on the commission board right now. And I'm not saying that to dog anyone. I'm not saying to put anybody down. That's just reality. So I just needed to say that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So any other comments? Yes, Miss Arlene.
There's a lot of speculation here about what the governor might or might not do. And Richard said that it would be a breach to even ask him, but this is, yes, he did not reappoint a commissioner, but this is the head of our city in a city that has had incredible corruption. And I personally think Governor DeSantis would appoint a mayor, and I would prefer that he did.
Thank you, ma'am. Any other comments?
I think I'm going to speak up.
Yes, ma'am.
I didn't, Mei-Ling Frischkorn, 201 Rue Esplanade. I didn't think today I would speak up, but I'm going to go back to the decision that was made by the board of Mayor Pro Tem and search your hearts of why you said yes for Mr. Russell to be Mayor Pro Tem. I'm a true advocate of presumption of innocence, and that's the law. That includes even our mayor. I agree with what Mr. Pernell stated. I don't know what changed, but I do know a man that sits before me of character and integrity. I hear the accusations, I hear the innuendos. We do need to move forward. And I don't know what they're saying about the public and the low morale. Yes, of course we're concerned as residents, but there are a lot that are supportive. So I say, search your hearts for the reasons why you voted yes for this man to be Mayor Pro Tem. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Any other comments? Okay, City Manager, please call the roll.
Commissioner Aldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Pernell,
Yes.
Commissioner Tender,
Yes.
Commissioner Russell.
Yes. We will have a special meeting Thursday morning at 9 a.m. Thank you. Moving on to item 14. Discussion and approval of the 24th Street Connection Feasibility Study options for Moet Highlands. I believe Chris Foran with Panhandle Engineering is here to enlighten us on his report.
Hey, good morning. I'm Chris Forehand with Panhandle Engineering. I'm going to come over here and use the board while I go through this. But basically, a few meetings ago, there was a lot of discussion about the Moet Highlands residents and their ability to be able to get out on 389. As we all know, there's a lot of traffic congestion, primarily in the morning and the evening. And so what we did, you have a summary of all the different options that we looked at. There were a total of 5. And just to kind of go through those real briefly, the first option was over off of Canal Street, which basically connects from a county road to 24th Street. And also each one of these options, we did give you pros and cons along with the cost for each option, and that is the total project cost. There is an existing 30-foot county easement that goes from Canal over to 24th Street. So it would require some additional property. We require 60 feet for our right of ways. So we would have to purchase an additional 30 feet from an adjacent property owner, in addition to some land for the stormwater pond. We did contact the adjacent property owner that is to the west of this parcel, and he was interested in selling. The second option was coming down at the end of Kirkwell Avenue, which also connects to 24th Street through Moet Highlands. If you go all the way to the end of Kirkwell, it is paved all the way to the end. And then there is another 30-foot easement that goes from the end of Kirkwell all the way to the old railroad. When, if you recall, we do have a rails to trails project that has been fully designed and permitted that goes all the way down the old railroad. So for that option 2, which actually follows the old railroad, we would have to redesign a portion of that rails to trails project, but they could coexist, which we talk about that in the study. It would require an additional 30-foot right-of-way for this short stretch. The property owner that owns that, I could not get in touch with them. I tried a couple of times, went through a couple of different phone numbers to try to get in touch. I think they live out of town. But I'm going to assume that maybe I left them messages. I'm going to assume they don't want to sell, or either they're just not interested in talking about it. So if you did choose this option, there would have to be some either eventually get in touch with the landowner or condemnation proceedings. The option number 3 is basically that same route through Kirkwell Avenue, but it would go across the property here that is owned by, gosh, I forgot their name, the Coulette family. So I did contact them, and they were not interested in selling. So if you chose that option, you would have to go through condemnation proceedings unless they change their mind. Option 4 basically goes from the end of 24th Street across a privately owned parcel, which there is no public right-of-way there. So you would have to get those folks to sell, but then it goes across the old railroad and comes out on the 24th Street on the west side. We did find that there was a conservation easement there that we cannot cross. So we kind of discounted that option, didn't talk to any of the property owners. Now option 5 still comes from the end of 24th Street and then goes and heads northwest down the railroad and comes out at the Timbers Crossing. That option would also require you to purchase land here for the road and for the stormwater. But since it was so expensive, we somewhat discounted that option. So I've given you cost on all the options. At the end of the study, we actually recommended this option 1, which is the connection to the Canal Street from 24th, for a couple different reasons. One is that it was the cheapest option. And then the second one was because the county actually presented that option to us, and they were in favor of it. They liked it. And then they also told us that they would have their commission consider doing a cost share on the project. So not specifically if we chose that option, but any of the options. So I'll be happy to answer any questions.
I've got a few.
Yes, Commissioner Tender.
Okay, this is a question that was asked by a resident that lives over there. She wanted to know if we selected option 1 in the canal, does the canal connection include paving that area?
Well, the
whole thing.
Well, this part of canal is already paved by the county.
Right.
It was recently paved.
And she wants to know if it includes, well, she said included in the canal, but you're telling me it's already paved. She says she's concerned that this road will go right along McCain Creek. So if not built correctly with flooding issues, the road could get damaged. I'm also concerned that they are saying it would be best built the 24th and Dundee in pipe projects are done with a possible grant that isn't several years off.
Correct. And,
Mhm.
and what she's talking about is in our study, we mentioned the two pipe replacement projects that we have.
Mhm.
We've applied for HMGP funding. And one of them is here close to this connection across 24th Street.
Okay.
And then the other one, it doesn't show it on this map, but when you come down Dundee, there's another crossing that those pipes are undersized.
Okay.
So we need to replace those. So basically what I'm saying in the study is that those projects need to happen before you build this road if you choose this option.
Okay. And then what you were just talking about, property we would have to purchase, option one, who owns that property up there?
Thomas Steele.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for the city engineer? Yes, sir. If Commissioner Perno, if you would speak into the microphone, please, sir. Thank you.
Your option one, $5,000. Option one. Does that include the stormwater on the road that you just mentioned?
It does not include the replacement of the pipes, but it does include any improvements for the road connection. And we applied for HMGP funding for that pipe crossing, which we expect to get notification on that by the end of the year.
Obviously, and I'd like to make a couple of comments. Option 4 would be my ideal because it gives a quicker shot for Moet Highlands to get out of that subdivision. But I understand that the conservation is going to keep us from doing that. After option 4, I would personally like to see option 2 or 3 because that gives you a straight shot of Pentland coming out of Moet Highlands. But I am not a fan of condemnation. I don't like interfering on people's property rights. So I mean, for me to get on board with that, the property owners would have to be agreed to sell. I would not, personally support condemnation. So that being said, I mean, option 1's better than leaving them with no back access. So that's just my comment, sir. Any other commissioners have anything they'd like to mention or discuss?
Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
I know that you were looking into the light there and getting out. Did we get any resolution on the residents being able to turn left easier on if we were to go to option?
I think I'll defer that to the city manager, but I believe we were in the process trying to get a traffic study to determine whether we could get a red light. If either the city engineer or city manager has any more information.
I don't have any other information.
When we, Mr. Baker and I met with the county, and they indicated to us that 389 is not failing, and therefore they would not consider a traffic signal.
Oh,
For me, that kind of pushes me to another option too then, because I think that's kind of important.
Now they are making an improvement. See if it shows it. They are making an improvement to 389, and they're going to put in a left turn lane headed north going into Moet Highlands on Dundee.
Chris, what were they saying? Repeat that again about they didn't. What was it you said a moment ago? That
when we met with them and talked about these options, we did bring up the traffic signal either at Andrews Plantation
right.
or at Dundee.
And they told you that the road wasn't worn
yes,
out.
They said 389 is not failing, and we are not planning on putting in a signal.
Oh, on the surface. Okay.
Failing by service, not
a service level of service.
Okay, I was about to say that's a terrible
traffic
road.
counts.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yes.
Thank you.
And my intent was not to put a red light there because of failing a service of 389. It was for the safety of the people in Moet Highlands, to give them an option out with that red light so they don't have to fight with the traffic, because we all know that road has several speeders on it. The speed limit is not maintained as
And
well.
I think you did discuss possibly requesting that they lower the speed limit. Have you done that?
We did talk about that.
Have you heard back?
No.
Okay.
The discussion I had with the county engineer was their concern with lowering the speed limit actually reduces the reduces the level of service of the road, so that it would create the road. It would cause the road to fail quicker if we reduce the speed. Is that not a correct?
I don't think that's correct.
No? Okay. Well, maybe I misunderstood what they said.
A lot of big trucks on that road.
But I would like the city commission to consider I don't know, asking the city or the county to please reconsider, because I do think that we need a red light there for the Moet Highlands people. But that's just, and I don't know how else to get them on board with putting a red light there. So, but anyway, that's actually another discussion. We're on topic here with the back entrances for Moet Highlands in discussion. So is there any other discussion with the commission?
Mayor Pro Tem, just to be clear, option one includes the road, but Mr. Forehand mentioned that the stormwater projects would have to be done before the road. Option one can be paved and cut through. Is there a timeline on addressing these stormwater issues? And that's something that we told the residents of Moet Island we would address. So how quickly can we work on the stormwater on those two projects, Dundee and also right here at 24th?
Well, as I said earlier, I assume that we will find out by the end of the year if you got the funding. My assumption is the commission would move forward if you did get the funding on those projects. So as long as they were constructed prior to this one being constructed, then you could move forward.
We'd know in about 3 months.
So hearing that, would it be prudent for the commission to table this until we find out we get the funding for the pipe? Because if we don't get funding for the pipe, option one becomes a moot point. Is that the way I'm understanding what you're saying?
Yes. Unless you decided to pay for it with some other funds.
So, okay. The commission have any other discussion, or the city manager would like to say anything?
No.
Okay. Yes, Commissioner.
Yeah, mine was tricky too.
Doesn't want me to talk.
Hold it down. Hold it down.
I make the motion that we postpone until we can find out about that.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to postpone item 14 until we determine whether we're going to get funding for the 24th Street piping project. Is there any other discussion with the commission? Any discussion in the public? Yes, sir, Mr. Walker.
Rich Walker, 1106 Michigan Avenue. All the options have one thing in common. We have been royally screwed by the Rails to Trails with the dealings with the owner. To my knowledge, checking into the conversion of the sale of that property to that owner from the city revealed that the Rails to Trails, excluding two sections, will belong to the owner for 75 years. He is supposed to enter into an agreement. His intent, according to the deed, is to give the city a lease for those sections that you're dealing with here. I have not seen that. I've asked for it, seen the lease, and the deed is going to sunset in September. Do we have a copy of the deed from the owner of the Rails to Trails sections giving us the lease for 75 years? Do we have a copy of that signed by him?
We are pulling all of that information. That was with our previous attorney, and we will be looking at that. That's on one of the things that's on the top of
Right.
the list. Yeah. And I don't know that to give you.
That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
If he intends and doesn't do, he owns it. Property appraiser listed it as he being the owner, period. But that doesn't count a lease. Okay, continuing on with that. That's my one point there. But all these options include what you call condemnation. Where I come from, that's taking the property from them. And that, I agree. Previous mayors have said, we do not want that. That is not, and you're correct, Mayor Pro Tem. That is not a nice option. So therefore, if they're not going to sell, those options are out. Your option number one even though you don't know about the money in the pipes, is the only option you have left. And that to me is you can find that money and you can do this.
Well,
Yes, sir.
in response to your, I'm hoping that in this time that we have tabled it, that we get a hold of these property owners and we can get an answer out of them whether they're willing to sell or not.
Right.
So that's actually going to give us time to look into that too.
Okay, I followed that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it just seems you don't want to take their property from them. So all the other options are out. And number one seems to be, and you can make it work. You can make that work. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Hearing none, City Manager, will you please call the roll?
Commissioner Tender,
I've already forgotten what the heck are we voting on?
To table, item 14 to table. Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Commissioner Parno,
Yes.
Commissioner Aldrich,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Russell.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Moving on to item 15, discussion approval of task order 1-2018-FRS-Hurricane Michael, extending the period of performance and increasing the estimated project cost for FEMA Public Assistance Consulting Services with Tetra Tech, Inc. And I believe the city manager has a report on this.
Yes, we are still working with our consultants, and we do have several projects that are still in the queue. We hope and anticipate that many of these projects will be finished by maybe mid-March, April next year. And so we will need them to finish out some of these projects and also close out some of these projects as well. So there's some that are open, and then there's some that we're going to have to be closing out for Hurricane Michael. So we're asking that their contract, not their contract, but their task order be renewed.
Okay, so is there any discussion with the commission?
Yes, if I may.
Yes, Commissioner Tender.
And how much is the extension going to cost us, please?
That will be 282, and everything that 282,000. These costs are reimbursable. Yes.
100% for sure.
Yes, knowing,
No
not
questions.
100%, but reimbursable at 75/25. Matter of fact, just so you know, we have about $1 million in the queue. We've already been reimbursed for $250,000, and so they'll give us half every time we submit. They give us half of whatever we submit. So yes, it is reimbursable. It's under what's called Category Z.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion with the commission?
I'll make the motion to approve moving forward with Tetra Tech at this time.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion with the commission? Any
Mayor Pro
discussion?
Tem,
Oh, yes, ma'am.
I agree with all that. I do have a comment that a resident has sent me, and it's in relationship to Mr. Forehand's presentation. So whenever it's convenient, I just want to ask the question.
Okay, let's finish this topic, then we'll step back to that. So any public comment? Hearing none, city manager, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Aldrich,
Yes.
Commissioner Parno,
Yes.
Commissioner Tender,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Russell.
Yes, motion approved. Okay, Commissioner Tender.
This lady just said the county did the traffic study during COVID when school was out, and the study was very light. And she just wanted to point that out, that they did it then, and the traffic pattern will be totally different now. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to item 16, discussion and approval to swap the Tuesday commission meetings to have the second Tuesday of the month, 9 a.m., and the fourth Tuesday of the month, 6 p.m., beginning October 2020. City manager, you have a report?
Yes, just swapping out the Tuesdays per se, because we're noticing that we do have a lot of stuff on the agenda, mainly on the first Tuesday. And I know a lot of people like to attend these, and at night when we're leaving, it's pretty late. We will continue to try to find a place to have commission meeting so that we can accommodate more people. I know more people want to attend these, but during this COVID time, it's very hard to find those places. So we're just asking, just swap those. The reason for October is because for the month of September, we have the Trim Act and we have all of the budget hearings. And as you know, all of the budget hearings have to be after 5:01.
Thank you. Is any discussion with the commission?
I'll make the motion to approve the swapping of the times for our meetings.
I'll second the motion.
So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion within the commission? Yes, Commissioner.
I
Tindall.
wanted to make just a recommendation that somebody had brought to me. Would we ever have the option to move these meetings to the garden club? That would give us more room and allow more people in.
I know it seems like the garden club is larger. It is actually smaller. That means it would limit the amount of people. So that's one of the reasons we have moved that. But one of the suggestions I have made is that maybe we have people here and we have the ability maybe to video conference down at the garden club. Those that wanted to attend could still speak. It would almost be like FaceTime. You could see them there. We could see them here and still be a part of the meeting until we can find a larger building. The great thing about this is also we are working diligently to get the senior center finished. And once the senior center is finished, that'll be a larger area that we can have the commission meetings. And we're looking at late October, first part of November for that to happen.
So we could still do that this year.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Sure, I'm glad to hear about the senior center. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion with the public? Yes, Miss Arlene.
Roberts Hall, this isn't on. This isn't on, is it?
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
Okay, Roberts Hall is larger than this building and the garden center. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. No other discussion? City Manager, will you please call the roll?
Commissioner Aldrich,
Yes.
Commissioner Perno,
Yes.
Commissioner Tender,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Russell.
Yes, okay, that item passes. Moving on to item 17, discussion regarding hiring an in-house attorney, and this is agenda item was put on the agenda by Miss Commissioner Tender.
Thank you. And we've pretty much discussed it like the attorney says, if we can send out for RFQs. I'm sure you all remember that we've already passed that. We passed that before Michael, and we hired that attorney. Was her name Kelly? And anyway, her husband was in the military. They got transferred. And then Mr. Albritton stepped in to help us with that, everything at that point. So we've already voted on having an in-house attorney. And I personally would just like to see us take action, send out for RFQs and see what we can do and what the possibilities are. I believe that we could save an enormous amount of money, but I've always felt that way.
Just a couple of things. Once the commission voted that we would have someone in-house, and then we would have a mentorship of that person, of a firm that would mentor that particular person, whoever we were going to hire. Ms. Trim was not, she did not have her, what's it called?
She wasn't on the Florida bar.
Yeah, she wasn't licensed for the Florida bar, so we had to go out and do an RFQ. So that RFQ was written for that particular person at that time, and so we'll be working with to get an RFQ regardless. And just one other point too, internally, remember this is a large city. A very, very large city. That means that this person is going to need some support, maybe a legal assistant, maybe even, another person to help out, because there is more work than you can imagine that is within the city. So just keep all of those things in mind.
If I may, Mayor Pro Tem.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
Thank you. And we're just talking out loud here. I think everybody on their dream list would like to have an in-house guy. The only thing that I'm concerned about is, we know what Mr. Carter is charging per hour, and that's what good attorneys charge per hour. A city can't afford that. So my question is, or my worry or concern, I guess, in the back of my mind is, are we going to get a lawyer and be able to afford a lawyer that's worth his weight in salt with the budget that we have? When we have stormwater issues we're dealing with, and we've got buildings we're dealing with, and we've got, all these things going on. I just want to put it out there that we chew on that. What kind of money can we actually afford, and what kind of quality does that get us?
And I'd also like to point out that typically lawyers specialize in different aspects of the law, whether it be patent law, contract law, labor law. To find one that's competent in all fields would cost us a significant amount of money, in my opinion. In case in point, we actually use a labor lawyer in Tallahassee, even though we had, the contract labor or contract with Adam Albritton to do our work here. We still had another attorney that did our labor. So you got to take that cost into consideration as well.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Can you tell me what we pay to Adam Albritton per hour?
I don't want to tell you incorrectly in front of everyone here, but I want to say it was 165.
And how much did we spend on him and his firm last year? It was big bucks, was it not?
Yes, I think I can tell you the
Okay,
exact
yeah.
amount. No, yes, yes.
And I agree with you. There's specialty things that come up, and we need the backup, maybe of
firm.
the firm, when situations arise. I'm just putting it out there that
Mayor-
what does it hurt to look, and how
Right.
much does it cost? A few newspaper articles, to see what kind of people we could find.
If I may suggest,
yes, Commissioner.
We have the options within our RFQ, correct? To what we want to design to get an attorney, whether we want an in-house attorney, like someone who's paid by the city annually, he's just ours, or we can set out the parameters of what we need as the RFQ would state, a package, so to speak. They would attend our meetings, they would do this and that, and then get a flat rate based on that. And said person can be their own attorney and so forth, and we can set up a mentorship with another firm accordingly. So it doesn't have to be a firm, it doesn't have to be an individual, but our RFQ should include kind of the cutout or whatever that we would do that. So we can RFQ for an individual, or we can RFQ for what we desire the person to do and the mentorship. So that would be for us to decide in the RFQ, correct?
That is correct.
So maybe we can decide that so we can go forward. So, and I mean, our attorney now, he would be hopefully staying with us up until the RFQ process, right?
Well, the commission has voted for him to stay on for the next 2 meetings.
Okay.
They would take the vote as commission to extend his contract if we don't have anything done by then.
Okay.
Mayor, just one
Yeah,
more comment.
yes,
and I'm
Commissioner.
done. The other thing too, even if we paid an in-house attorney $100,000 a year, that's $43 or $48 an hour, and he would be totally ours to answer anybody's questions. We would never ever have to worry about any conflicts.
Who would we
because
get?
I would think. I'm sorry.
Who would we get for that?
That's what I'd like
Yeah.
to see. I mean, you got to put it out.
So can we put
there
out?
and
Can we
see.
put out 2 separate RFQs?
I'm gonna defer to our attorney here.
The city will need to determine which path it wants to take and then go with an RFQ that accommodates that. So if you want to take a vote to create an in-house counsel position, that needs to be the decision.
And we've already voted on that.
Actually, if the city manager correct me if I'm stating this incorrectly, but we actually voted to hire a mentoring service for Miss Tram, who had her law degree. We didn't actually vote to hire an in-house lawyer.
That's That's actually what it was. Because the RFQ that I worked on, that is exactly what the RFQ was going to be.
Okay, so you're saying we didn't vote to hire our own in-house attorney? We voted to hire a firm to be her
Mentor.
backup, her mentor.
Yes, yes.
Why would we do that if we weren't paying her as our attorney?
Because she did not have her
Her Florida license.
Yeah,
I
Florida
remember
license.
that. And weren't we paying her like 85,000 a year?
No, ma'am.
What were we paying her?
I think it's somewhere along 50,000, maybe 50, somewhere along in there. It wasn't
But-
a lot.
To clarify, she wasn't hired as a lawyer. She was hired to work for the police department. And then we found out she had a law degree, and the city
Right.
looked at moving her
Yes.
into that position.
Yes. Okay.
It was 50 or 60.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
If I may, one more time, Mayor
Yes,
Pro
Commissioner.
Tem, I don't mean to put you on the spot, Mr. Carter, but just from your side of things as a lawyer, as, you know, if there was an RFQ or, I mean, how would you feel it would, you know, would you look at the package deal, or would you look at, you know, being an in-house attorney, so forth? Just, I mean, for what we require, I mean, just if I could just get your opinion on where you think we should go.
I would mirror Mr. Aldridge's statements. Sorry, am I not in there? I would mirror Mr. Aldridge's statements about the quality and the pool that you're likely to get with an in-house arrangement. But I mean, it works in other municipalities. We have great county attorneys here that are in-house for the county, so it can work. It just depends on the compensation, frankly, and the experience pool, and whether folks that may not live in Bay County want to move to Bay County in the aftermath of the storm. There are just lots of factors that go into it. But yes, you could certainly get competent counsel. I think compensation and the working arrangement is going to be the first hurdle, but it's certainly not an impossibility.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Well, to move on with this one, with this item, can we just direct city staff to maybe see what do we pay Adam Albritton? Let's say total, just net. What did we pay him last year? So that gives us a parameter, at least to see what we're dealing with on what we would have spent anyway. I don't know if that needs a motion or if that can just be a direction from me as a commissioner to our staff, but I'd like to see that at our next meeting.
If you don't mind, I'd like you to put that in the form of a motion.
Yes, sir. I make the motion then that we have our city bring back what we paid Adam Albritton for a fiscal year, to let us have a baseline at least of what we're working with on what we spent last year.
I'd like to piggyback on that. Would that be these last 2 years were storm related? We'd have to go back to more of a normal year.
Would be last year then, that last fiscal year.
Could we possibly ask for what we paid Rob Jackson?
Before we have
the
any more
last year?
discussion, we do have a motion on the floor that we
Okay,
either need
well,
to.
then I'll amend my motion then. We'll amend it. Let's get what Adam Albritton was paid for a fiscal year, and then let's get the last year that Mr. Jackson, I believe his name was, let's get the last year of what he made. Then we can kind of see where we are. We can bounce off those walls.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, motion and a second. The commission have any discussion?
I just have some points that I want to make sure that everyone, I always like to get things right. Kelly earned $54K that year. Her title was never attorney. It was actually the assistant to the city manager. Okay.
And in your motion, you're asking them to bring it back. Would you like the city manager to add this back to the agenda for the next meeting? Or, you know, you may want to give her some guidance on time frame, and because obviously we're in a time crunch with Mr. Carter.
Yes, sir. If we could bring that to the next meeting, so that we can discuss this further. We'll put this down as another agenda item.
Okay, so you've amended your motion.
I'll second the amended motion.
Thank you. So we have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion with the commission?
Yes.
Yes.
Can we clarify those for our minutes and for ourselves as well? The motion, please.
Okay, so we'll start over. I propose having the motion in which we look at what Adam Albritton made his last fiscal year, net that we spent. And then I would like to see the last year that Mr. Rob Jackson served, which was, I believe, 2 years ago. And let's see what he made net after the end of a fiscal year so that we can kind of see what we've spent on the last two attorneys over one fiscal year. I know one was a hurricane situation, one was not. So we can also see the discrepancies in that. And we'll pick this up at the next meeting as a discussion item on the agenda.
Was that the motion that you seconded, as you understood, Commissioner?
Yes,
Furno?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? With
Hang on.
Just for my clarification, the next meeting is this Thursday. Is that the meeting you're talking
No,
about?
next regularly scheduled commission. Yes, ma'am. Thank you for that.
Okay, so
Second.
yes, Mr. Carter.
If I could, I wanted to expound on that question about in-house counsel and for the commission to consider what Ms. Gaynor mentioned earlier about hiring support staff as an additional expense. So I suspect, I'm not privy to their exact contractual arrangements, but Mr. Jackson and Mr. Albritton were absorbing the cost of their staff and their offices, things of that nature. So that's something that the commission will need to take into consideration when you're looking at compensation. And when I was referring to compensation, I didn't mean strictly for attorneys, but for the entirety of what you would be hiring by creating that office.
Thank you. All right, so we have a motion second. Is there any public discussion? Yes, sir, Mr. Scray.
Brian Scragan. So the last emergency meeting we had, we hired the attorney for 2 meetings, correct? So that today's meeting 1?
No, 2 regularly scheduled.
2 regularly
Yeah,
scheduled
so yes,
meetings.
today is
So
one,
does that
yes.
include Thursday's emergency meeting?
No.
He will not be present at that meeting as
No.
an attorney, but maybe as a,
No, he'll be present, but it's not until his next meeting, regularly scheduled meeting, not special meeting, regularly scheduled.
Okay.
That will be his last one at the next.
okay,
2
so,
weeks.
so the agreement we have with him covers special meetings that come up as well?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so you won't have to decide to extend or be without representation until the next regularly scheduled meeting?
Yes, sir.
Correct.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
Any other public discussion? Yes, Ms. Arlene.
In addition, I agree with Brandon's motion there. And, but in addition, I would also like to know how much we have spent on attorney fees, not just in total for 2018, 2019, and 2020. I want to know how much we've spent this year. I understand there are several lawsuits against the city, and that would be included in that, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, you're more than welcome to make a request to the city manager to provide you that information, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, no other discussion? Yes, Commissioner.
So does that mean you're requiring her to formally make a public request of those 3 figures?
Unless one of the commissioners wants to amend their motion to include that in it, but that would the citizen would do it.
I'm sorry. She was just asking. I was trying
okay.
to clarify if she has to formally do that. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we, no other discussion. City manager, please call the roll.
Commissioner Aldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Parno,
Yes.
Commissioner Tender,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Russell.
Yes, and that brings us to item number 18. Thank you all, everybody, for coming out today, and have a good day. Don't forget, commissioners, y'all need to sign the Mylars.